Story number 1, intake 31. I arrived for night shift at 300 hours on the 26th of February to find we were running with minimum staff. 1 attending physician, 2 nurses including myself, and a single security officer for a 40-bed emergency department. This was not unusual for a weekend in late winter. The roads were clear, the weather stable, and we expected a quiet night. At 01:30 hours we received a walk-in patient, male approximately 30 years old, presenting with severe hypothermia and frostbite to the fingers and toes of both extremities. He was conscious, oriented to person and place, but not time, and wearing adequate winter clothing, insulated boots, heavy coat, gloves that were still in his pockets. He told me he had only been outside for 20 minutes, walking from his truck in the parking lot. The outdoor temperature that night was -8 degrees Celsius. Cold, but not extreme. I initiated standard rewarming protocols, removed wet clothing, applied warm blankets, started an IV line for warm saline infusion. Dr. Mehta ordered continuous monitoring. When I placed the tympanic thermometer, the reading showed 28.3 degrees Celsius. I rechecked with a different device. 34.1 degrees. I used our temporal scanner. 37.2 degrees. All within 3 minutes. The patient showed no corresponding physiological changes. No shivering cessation, no improvement in peripheral perfusion, no alteration in level of consciousness. I documented all 3 readings and flagged the inconsistency for Dr. Mehta. He examined the patient himself, noted the discrepancy, and ordered a rectal temperature probe for accuracy. While I prepared the equipment, the patient became increasingly agitated. He kept asking us to check the waiting room. He said something had followed him inside. I assured him we would look, and I radioed our security officer, Marcus, who confirmed the waiting room was empty. The patient was not satisfied. He asked us to check again. Marcus walked through a second time and reported back. Still empty. At 02:15 hours, I returned to the central nursing station to update the patient's chart in our electronic health record system. The screen displayed his information correctly, but below his entry I saw vital signs for other patients. Names I did not recognize. Medical record numbers that did not match our current census. Real-time monitoring data, heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, respiratory rate, all updating continuously. I counted 7 records. None of these individuals were registered in our department. I checked our bed board. We had 3 patients total, including the hypothermia case. I called over Sarah, our other nurse on duty. She confirmed she saw the same records. We scrolled through them. The names appeared to be real. The medical record numbers followed our facility's format. The vital signs were within normal ranges, except for 1 record showing a heart rate of 130 beats per minute and blood pressure of 80/50. I attempted to open that record for more detail, but the system would not allow access beyond the monitoring screen. I picked up the desk phone to contact our IT department. Static. I tried hospital administration. Static. I tried the operator. Static on all internal lines. I checked my cell phone. Full signal strength, 4 bars, LTE indicator active. I dialed our IT help desk number. The call would not connect. I tried 3 more times. Same result. Sarah attempted the same with identical outcome. Dr. Mehta came to the station to review labs. I showed him the phantom records. He stared at the screen for nearly a minute without speaking, then asked me to print the display. I sent the command. The printer produced a blank page with only the header and timestamp. We tried again. Same result. At 02:40 hours, Dr. Meta ordered a psychiatric evaluation for our patient and began arranging transfer to the behavioral health unit. I returned to the patient's bay to continue monitoring. All equipment was functioning normally. I performed another manual vital signs check. Temperature now 36.8 degrees Celsius across all 3 measurement methods. Heart rate 72. Blood pressure 118/76. Oxygen saturation 98% on room air. I documented the findings. At 02:53 hours, every monitor in the patient's bay alarmed simultaneously. Flatline on the cardiac monitor. Flatline on the pulse oximeter. Flatline on the blood pressure cuff. The patient was sitting upright in bed, looking at me, speaking clearly. He asked what was happening. I could see his chest rising and falling. I could feel his radial pulse, strong and regular. I silenced the alarms and checked all leads. Properly connected. I reset the equipment. The flatlines persisted. Sarah called out from the nursing station. The phantom records were all displaying flatlines. Identical waveforms. All 7 records showing the same pattern at the same moment our patient's monitors failed. Dr. Mehta came immediately. He performed a physical exam. The patient was stable by every clinical measure except the electronic monitoring, which continued to show no cardiac activity, no respiratory effort, no blood pressure. I made the decision to move all staff to the central nursing station. This violated our emergency protocols. We are trained to maintain patient coverage and never abandon direct care. But I felt it was necessary to consolidate our position given the circumstances. Dr. Mehta agreed. We brought the patient with us, disconnected from the malfunctioning equipment. Marcus remained at the station entrance. We locked the department doors from the inside. For the next 2 hours and 45 minutes, we remained there. The patient sat quietly. The phantom records continued to display flatlines. No new patients arrived, no calls came through. At 04:40 hours, all systems returned to normal function simultaneously. The phantom records disappeared from our database. Our patient's vital signs, when I reconnected him to monitoring equipment, showed normal parameters consistent with his improving clinical status. Internal phone lines restored. Cellular service functioned normally. Dr. Mehta contacted the psychiatric unit and arranged transfer. The patient was transported by ambulance at 06:20 hours. Morning shift arrived at 0700 hours. I provided report, logged the incident as a combined equipment malfunction and server error, and completed my documentation. I was reassigned to day rotation the following week pending a routine administrative review. That review never resulted in formal proceedings. The incident was archived under facilities maintenance records. I have not worked a night shift since. Story number 2, Compliance Audit. I arrived at the Haskell processing facility at 11:30 on a Thursday night in late autumn. The annual inspection was unannounced by design. I had conducted similar walkthroughs at 17 other facilities in the valley over the past 6 years. The protocol was standard: verify hazardous waste handling procedures, review containment systems, check documentation against physical inventory, and file the compliance report within 72 hours. The night supervisor met me at the gate. His name was Derek Pullman, according to the badge clipped to his jacket. He checked my credentials twice before unlocking the pedestrian entrance. I asked about the site manager. Pullman said he was off-site and unreachable. I informed him that the inspection would proceed regardless. He nodded, but did not move immediately. When I asked if there was a problem, he said there were maintenance issues in the secondary containment area I asked if these issues were documented in the quarterly filings. He said they were not. I followed him across the main lot toward the processing building. The facility operated on a continuous schedule, but the grounds were quieter than I expected. I could hear the low hum of ventilation systems and the distant sound of liquid moving through pipes, but no machinery noise, no vehicle traffic. Pullman walked quickly. I asked him to slow down so I could note the exterior conditions. He complied, but kept glancing back toward the main building. Inside, the processing floor was lit, but appeared to be running on minimal staff. I saw 2 workers near the far end, both wearing full PPE, neither acknowledging our presence. I began the standard walkthrough, checking the posted safety documentation, the eye wash stations, the spill containment kits. Everything was in order. Pullman stayed close, answering my questions in short sentences. I asked to see the monitoring station. The monitoring station was located in a plexiglass, enclosed booth overlooking the main floor. Inside, a bank of digital screens displayed real-time data from the waste processing system's temperature, pressure flow rate, pH levels. I cross-referenced the digital readings with the analog gauges mounted on the equipment below. The analog gauges all read within normal parameters. The digital system showed pressure values in the primary separator that should have triggered an automatic shutdown at least 3 hours earlier, according to the facility's own safety protocols. I asked Pullman why the system had not shut down. He said the digital monitors had been malfunctioning. I asked why this malfunction was not logged. He did not answer. I informed him that I needed to inspect the secondary containment area. He hesitated, then said it was not accessible. I reminded him that refusal to allow access to any part of the facility during a compliance inspection constituted a violation that would result in an automatic failed audit and possible suspension of operating permits. He made a phone call. I could not hear the conversation. After 2 minutes, he hung up and told me to follow him. The secondary containment area was located below the main processing floor, accessible by a metal staircase at the building's north end. The stairwell was colder than the rest of the facility. Pullman unlocked the door at the bottom and stepped aside. The space was approximately 40 feet by 60 feet, lit by overhead fluorescents that flickered irregularly. The air smelled strongly of chlorine and something else I could not identify, metallic and faintly sweet. The containment basin occupied most of the floor space, a concrete, lined depression roughly 3 feet deep, designed to capture spills or leaks from the processing equipment above. A sump pump in the corner was running, discharging into a pipe that fed back into the treatment system. I approached the edge of the basin to inspect the liquid level. The surface was dark, almost black, and perfectly still despite the pump's operation. I noticed the discharge from the sump pump first. The liquid was flowing from the pump outlet along the wall, but instead of falling or spraying, it moved upward in a thin stream for approximately 4 feet before curving back down into the basin. I watched it for 30 seconds. The flow did not waver. I asked Pullman if he saw it. He said he did. I asked how long it had been happening. He said he did not know. I took out my camera to document the observation. Pullman stepped forward and said I should not do that. I informed him that photographic documentation was part of standard procedure. He repeated that I should not. I took 3 photographs. The camera's autofocus would not lock. All 3 images came out blurred. I heard footsteps on the stairs. A man in a dark coat descended into the containment area. He introduced himself as Roger Haskell, the facility manager. He was calm but spoke quickly. He said the inspection was complete and that I needed to leave immediately. I explained that I had not finished the walkthrough and that several observations required documentation. He said that some things do not go in reports. I asked him to clarify. He did not. I returned to the edge of the basin and removed a sample collection bottle from my field kit. I knelt and extended the bottle toward the liquid surface. The bottle would not fill. I submerged it completely. When I lifted it out, it was empty. I tried again with a second bottle. The result was the same. I tried a third time, holding the bottle underwater for 15 seconds. It remained empty. Haskell told me to stop. I asked him to explain what I was observing. He said he could not. I asked if he had reported the anomaly to the state EPA or any federal agency. He said he had not. I informed him that failure to report a potential environmental hazard was a criminal violation. He said nothing. The emergency lighting system activated. The fluorescents shut off, replaced by battery-powered LEDs mounted near the ceiling. I heard the main processing equipment shutting down in sequence, a series of mechanical clicks and hums fading one after another. No alarm sounded. Pullman looked at Haskell. Haskell looked at me. He said I needed to leave now. I exited the facility at 12:43 in the morning. I sat in my vehicle and called my regional supervisor, Martin Scheffer. I described what I had observed. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he told me to return to the office and submit only the standard compliance checklist. I asked if I should include the observations in a supplemental report. He said I should not. I asked if he wanted me to recommend a follow-up inspection. He said that would not be necessary. I submitted the compliance checklist the following afternoon. The Haskell processing facility received a passing grade. I was reassigned to municipal water system audits on Monday. I did not return to the Ohio River Valley. The facility closed 4 months later. The public notice cited economic factors. The site was transferred to federal jurisdiction and reclassified under a designation I do not have clearance to access. The case file was sealed and archived. Story number 3, transport detail. I arrived at the Highway 70 rest stop at 11:30 in the evening to conduct a routine witness handoff during a protected relocation transfer. The location had been used 43 times in the past 18 months without incident. It met all criteria for neutral ground, minimal traffic, adequate lighting, single-point access road. I had performed this type of exchange 7 times prior. The witness, a 41-year-old male scheduled for identity reassignment, was cooperative and displayed no signs of distress during initial contact. He exited the transport vehicle without assistance. His vitals were stable. He responded appropriately to verbal cues. The transferring agent reported no complications during the 6-hour drive from the previous safe house. All documentation was in order. I signed the custody transfer form at 11:47. During the mandatory rest period, I observed the witness staring at the vending machines with unusual fixation. He stood approximately 8 feet from the row of 4 machines, hands at his sides, not moving. When I asked if he needed something, he did not respond immediately. After 12 seconds, he said he could see someone standing behind the glass. I asked him to clarify. He pointed to the third machine from the left and said the person was wearing a gray jacket. I confirmed the building was empty through standard sweep procedures. I had already cleared the restrooms, the janitor's closet, and the exterior perimeter upon arrival. The rest stop was a single-story structure with no basement access. All windows were intact. The rear exit was locked from the inside. I repeated the sweep with the witness remaining in visual contact at all times. There was no one else present. The witness became increasingly agitated when I returned. He insisted the figure was moving between machines. He described it as shifting from the third machine to the first, then to the fourth. He said it was looking at him. I positioned myself between the witness and the machines and instructed him to return to the vehicle. He refused. He said leaving would make it worse. I examined the vending machines directly. All four were standard commercial units, approximately 6 feet tall, stocked with beverages and snacks. The glass panels showed no abnormalities. I could see the products inside clearly. There were no reflections that could be misinterpreted as human shapes. I noted that each machine had a yellow caution tag attached to the power cord. The tags indicated the units had been unplugged for maintenance. I verified this. None of the machines were connected to power. When I attempted to escort him back to the vehicle, all four vending machines activated simultaneously. The interior lights came on. The digital displays lit up. I heard the compressor motors engage. The witness stepped backward and said the person was now standing in front of the glass. I moved him toward the exit. The machines began dispensing products without input. Cans and bottles fell into the retrieval bins in rapid sequence. The sound was constant. I did not stop to observe further. The witness began reciting a series of numbers as we crossed the parking lot. I recognized the format as coordinates. I did not ask him to stop. He continued until we reached the vehicle. Once inside, I entered the numbers into the navigation system to confirm. They corresponded to the location of his original testimony, a rural property in Missouri where he had provided evidence in a federal case. This information had been part of the memory suppression protocol administered 4 days earlier. He should not have retained it. I made the decision to sedate and transport immediately. I did not contact my supervising agent. I administered the standard dose using the emergency medical kit. The witness did not resist. He lost consciousness within 90 seconds. I deviated from the scheduled timeline and drove directly to the safe house, bypassing the secondary checkpoint. I arrived at 2:15 in the morning. The receiving team accepted custody without question. I filed my report at 0400 hours. I documented the transport as completed without incident. I did not mention the rest stop events. I submitted a separate facility assessment form recommending the location be removed from approved relocation routes due to structural concerns. I cited poor lighting and inadequate sight lines. The form was processed within 24 hours. The rest stop was flagged for indefinite removal. Upon arrival at the safe house, the witness had no memory of the rest stop incident. I was present during his initial psychological evaluation. He was calm and responsive. He answered all standard questions appropriately. Near the end of the session, the evaluator provided him with paper and asked him to draw a place where he felt safe. The witness drew the layout of 4 vending machines in a row. He added no other details. When asked what the drawing represented, he said he did not know. Over the following 2 days, the witness participated in 3 additional evaluation sessions. In each session, when given paper, he drew the same vending machine layout. The dimensions and spacing were consistent across all drawings. He never added human figures. He never added background elements. When questioned, he repeatedly stated he did not know why he was drawing them. On the 3rd day, I was instructed to deliver a revised case file to the supervising agent. The file contained a reclassification order. The witness was being moved from standard relocation protocol to permanent residential monitoring. The justification was listed as administrative. I was not cleared to review the supporting documentation. I was told the decision had been made at a level above regional authority. I asked if the reclassification was related to the psychological evaluations. The supervising agent said it was not appropriate for me to ask. I was reminded that my role was transport and custody transfer, not case analysis. I was told the witness would remain at the current safe house under indefinite supervision. I would not be involved in further proceedings. I returned to duty rotation the following week. I have not been assigned to that witness again. I have not been assigned to any relocation transfers involving memory suppression protocols since that date. When I inquired about this, I was told it reflected scheduling needs, not performance concerns. The rest stop on Highway 70 remains closed to relocation operations. I drove past it 6 weeks later during an unrelated assignment. The vending machines were gone. The building was still standing, but the windows had been covered with plywood. There was no indication of when or why the changes had been made. The case file was archived under standard procedures. I was not asked to provide additional testimony or clarification. My transport record remains clear.